There was once a village nestled deep in the mystical hills of Nagaland, where the earth and sky met in whispers of ancient times. The air was always thick with the scent of rain, and the mornings were veiled in a mist that seemed to hide the very secrets of the land itself. In this quiet, secluded place, the villagers lived in harmony with nature, tending to their crops and honoring the spirits of the hills. But their peace was fragile. An ominous force, older than the village itself, threatened to shatter it. Every night, the villagers would hear distant rumblings from the mountain that towered over their homes. A mountain feared by all. They spoke of the great Serpent, a beast that had claimed the mountain as its domain. The Serpent demanded yearly sacrifices of food, livestock, and sometimes lives. Its hunger was insatiable. In the heart of this village lived Pulie, a young farmer known not only for his strong hands and kind heart, but also for his unyielding courage. Pulie had seen the fear in the eyes of his people, heard the stories of those taken by the Serpent. His heart ached for them, and though he was just one man, Pulie knew he could not let his people live in fear any longer. As each year passed and the Serpent's demands grew more menacing, the villagers fell deeper into despair. Children no longer played near the mountain's base. Elders whispered fearful prayers at dusk. Livestock went missing, and sometimes villagers never returned from their offerings. Something had to be done, and Pulie knew in his heart that the answer lay at the top of that cursed mountain. One day, Pulie gathered the village elders and spoke with a voice as steady as the wind. I will climb the mountain and face the Serpent. I can no longer watch as our people suffer. His words were met with gasps of disbelief and fear. The elders pleaded with him, telling him that no one who had ever gone to face the Serpent had returned. But Pulie's resolve was unshakable. Early the next morning, with nothing but a blade, some rope, and the courage in his heart, Pulie began his ascent. The mountain loomed large, its craggy face disappearing into a thick bank of clouds. Every step was a challenge, as rocks tumbled beneath his feet and the air grew thinner. The closer he got to the summit, the more he could feel the Serpent's eyes on him, as if it had been waiting for him all along. The summit was cold and desolate, a place where no human had set foot in generations. There, coiled around the highest peak, lay the great Serpent. Its body stretched longer than the tallest tree, its scales shimmering in the pale light of the moon that now hung in the sky. The Serpent's eyes glowed with an eerie green light, reflecting centuries of malevolent wisdom. It had been expecting Pulie. Pulie's heart pounded in his chest, but he did not falter. He knew this battle was not just for him, but for every soul in the village below. Without a word, the Serpent uncoiled itself, its massive body rippling through the air like a river of darkness. It lunged toward Pulie, fangs bared, its hiss echoing across the empty sky. Pulie was ready. He tied his legs to a thick tree trunk that stood firm in the rocky ground, knowing that the Serpent would try to crush him. As the creature coiled its body around him, squeezing with all its might, Pulie held fast. The pressure was immense, and yet he did not waver. With one swift motion, Pulie raised his blade and struck the Serpent in its heart. The Serpent let out a deafening shriek that echoed through the hills. Its massive body writhed and twisted in agony, knocking rocks loose and shaking the very earth beneath them. Pulie's strike had been true. As the Serpent's life slipped away, the mountain began to fall silent once more, save for the distant howling of the wind. Pulie had won, but victory came at a cost. Pulie's body had been pushed beyond its limits. As the Serpent fell, Pulie collapsed beside it, his strength gone. The villagers found him the next morning, lying motionless beside the lifeless Serpent, his legs still tied to the tree that had kept him anchored in the fight. He had saved them, but his life had slipped away with the beast. In honor of his bravery, the mountain was forever named Pulie Badze, Pulie's Hill. His legend lived on in every whisper of the wind that swept over the mountain's peak and every prayer that rose from the village below. Pulie's courage had freed his people, and though he was gone, his spirit would always guard the hills of Nagaland.